In this episode, you'll learn why your relationship with your father determines your relationship with power, and how to heal the hunger that no achievement can satisfy. Welcome to Energy Alignment for Entrepreneurs, the podcast helping entrepreneurs be free from anxiety, stress, and tension through balancing emotions and consciousness expansion. 3 things you'll learn today. Number 1, why driven men with absent fathers become achievement addicts who never feel enough. Number 2, how to recognize if you're chasing your father's approval or your own truth. And number 3, the alchemy of forgiving the man who couldn't give you what you needed. So let's look at the first point. The idea of an achievement addict lacking a feeling of satisfaction, that can come from a lot of different forms of trauma or just wounds, or in other words, emotional baggage that just hasn't been given presence, attention, breath. Even though this topic is around a father-son relationship, the main point really is that we need to look at what we've kind of hid under the rug. When I say this, I don't mean it has to be anything intensive or extreme, but rather just a simple recognition that there are certain patterns or tendencies that we can notice as we observe ourselves that may have had a root in a tough situation. That's probably the simplest way I could pack the main point up. And it's good to achieve things, but there needs to be that balance of what's your root. If your drive is a fuel of inner turmoil, or like you're angry and that's what your fuel is, I'll say that may be necessary for certain duration in your life, but you'll learn a lot about yourself when you notice, man, I'm running on that fuel source, because you can feel the relationship of like what you're putting through your system, what you're driving on, what's running it. And when you pay attention to that, then you learn how to forgive. And that's another key aspect to kind of feeling enough. Now, you, in relationship to achievement, you need to make sure that what you're doing is sort of a win-win-win, where it's just obvious that you're walking the path that makes sense. Now, you will have uncertainty, even if you feel in your heart and you have confidence that the route you're going in relationship to achievement is healthy and led from the right place. Even with that confidence, you'll still have moments, right? To wrap this up, point number 1, it's not just about the father-son situation, but all simultaneously, you can take any form of pain in your life and use that as a fuel in a way where it's not anger, but forgiveness. And you change that fuel in its absolute entirety. And then it can run clean. You just have to be the one who changes the fuel and has the awareness that there is this little road bump in terms of there's quote unquote contaminated fuel. And you have the opportunity to, clean that up. Alchemize it, in other words. Now, point number 2, how to recognize if you're chasing your father's approval or your own truth. This is an interesting one. Now, a lot of the times the structure with humans in general, whether it be school or family or any other sort of place where you're looking up to people, and when you are not absolutely questioning almost everything, it can get tricky. Now, when I imply basically that you should be questioning everything, I mean that in a subtle way. Again, it's not extreme, but it's rather healthy. You're not doing this out of fear. You're just observing, you're noticing all of the different variables involved. That's what I mean when I say to question everything. You're just aware of the fact that you could look at things just on the surface, but if you can feel that there are an abundant amount of implications that affect any one situation, especially in relationship to having a clear path, knowing that you're following your truth, listening to your heart. I would really say that through awareness, you begin to discern. And that's what the kind of skepticism, if you will, questioning everything, it leads you to have a pure ability, if you will, to discern. When you're not in, how do I put this? The cool thing about discernment is it's not making more decisions. It's actually a upper level simplification of your consciousness so that you can flow. That so that you don't have to second guess yourself and always be thinking. You just kind of know what to do. Part of that will take practical knowledge, part of that will take emotional smoothness, and another part of that will take mental clarity. So you learn to feel everything and you learn, how do I put it? If you pay attention to your breath, you can realize that, man, all of this thinking, like my father's approval, fitting in with these systems or structures, whatever it could be, your career path, family, like I said before, you simplify to realize, man, this is my life. And a good line that I like is kind of realizing, like, where do other people end? Where do you begin and where do other people end? So you can not draw boundaries like a weirdo. I just mean to have that healthy awareness of what's best for you and to also put yourself in other shoes. And then you start to see, man, chasing other people's approval just really, it doesn't matter too much, anyways, you know? Because that's what your own truth is about. When you're on the healthy path, the correct path, that means that your life gets simple. And it just cannot be simple if you are living in any form of anxiety, fear driven, worrying, trying to fit in, trying to control things that you cannot control. The hard part about kind of freeing yourself is that you learn to have a healthy relationship with uncertainty because you learn to trust, and then therefore you don't need to know every step. You don't need to think about all these variables. Sure, in business, 100%. You think, or you, what is brilliant in today's age is I've been using AI so much for business. It's insane. And it's so awesome because I'm thinking, but in a different level, more like a director. And it's kind of, I get into this flow of, I'm not really even operating this thing. It's just so, how do I put it? When you're immersed in a project and the practical knowledge is there, and then you have the speed, the speed of the technology what it's doing is it's accelerating everyone's ability so much. And that is also a gift because we don't need to consciously hold all this information in our mind and we can learn to flow and let the heart guide. And funny enough, the heart is extremely intelligent and that it has this knowledge which is so far beyond a forced, repetitive storage of information from the brain. When your heart's operating, it's kind of like a supercomputer, if you will. And then you pair it up with AI. And so, hey, I veer. But the point is that we can take a step back and feel what happens when we're moving with the rhythm. Yeah? That rhythm can be in business and family and relationships and nature and hobby, whatever it is. But you just learn to breathe. You learn to not be so stuck in this obsessive what if. What if? You can't answer that. And your mind will trick you into thinking and thinking and trying to have all the solutions. And of course, in practical life, you write things down. One of my favorite things is the mind's valuable. These thoughts come up for a reason. Write things down and be extremely organized and learn to breathe and balance. And everything works itself out, right? Like let it all work out. Part of that is you knowing when to work. And then part of that is you realizing that there's something so much deeper and powerful guiding this entire game. And you just need to learn how to tune into that. And really, a lot of that is letting go of the need for control, right? So part of intelligence is the riddle of being comfortable with uncertainty. You cannot predict things, and that's hard. But you just you walk in alignment and you smoothen your path. It's just like a simplification of everything. So, when we look at point number 3, the alchemy of forgiving the man who couldn't give you what you needed, this is a great kind of pull because it's hard when you have expectations. And if we go back to a point I didn't hammer on that I wanted to, it's how education and family, you get such a program from everyone you listen to. See, here's the thing, when you listen to me, you have an opportunity to really listen with a new level where you're not blindly accepting anything that I say. I'm not at all an authority in any sense. The truth is that you have all the power you need. And that message is hard if you do not know how to wield your own power. So, what I talk about really is the path of seeing who you are. When you find out who you are, you'll see what power you have. And I don't want that for everyone. That is what will happen for everyone. Because fundamentally, the word alchemy is a implication of change. And when you need to forgive someone who, quote unquote, couldn't give you what you needed, you start to unravel, okay, what was it that I needed? How did I get that root of thinking I needed something from someone and only they could give it to me? Right? And from there, you question and you start to see, man, this dependence on other people, these expectations, it's all driven from some form of a void inside yourself. And when you look at that void, you'll see yourself and you'll have to kind of learn how to breathe through the immensity that you are shown when you begin to look at the voids in your vessel. What I mean is your heart, blacked out memories. There are situations, maybe not even physical, maybe tied to something deeper. There's not always these practical explanations, but all simultaneously, you begin to get proof that not everything is practical. Or, in other words, that what we call practical isn't the big picture, isn't showing all the details and nuances, right? Because there's depth to your heart, to your soul, to all the people you meet, to all the energy that is shared in life. We just need to learn how to feel, how to really have that sensitivity breeds compassion, which breeds an understanding. The only way you can do that first, though, is be honest about the things that you're running from and learn to be with yourself, breathe, and look yourself in that void. See yourself in that void and understand who you are, all the feelings you felt, all the ideas, and you get to that core root of man. People aren't so different. We seem different, we look different, we talk different, we sound different, etc. But there's something uniting in all of us. And you learn to let that intelligence, right? It's not just, oh, love and oh, we're all one. No, it is intelligence. This game is extremely, like, it is beyond words what this earth is and what we are and what we're all doing here and the levels to the game. So you simplify because, man, it's vast. And if it's not simple, if you don't learn to be here now and see what you are, is that it's a compounding of who you are now that creates everything. It's not all the thinking, the planning, the future, the past that matters. It's who you are now that everything comes from. And you simplify to realize, man, it's sometimes hard to be who I am now. So you learn how to be who you are now. And that's, well, I really think that I've kind of done my best to cover these points. So hopefully that's been helpful. I'm going to pass on the recap, but honestly, the summary would be the hungry boy inside you will never be satisfied by another achievement, only by facing the father wound, feeling the grief, and choosing to become the man who breaks the cycle. Oh, then you can finally rest in your own power. So, new episodes are out every Monday, Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And I wrote a book. It's on the fitness niche, but it's deeper than that. So, if you enjoy this, I think you'll enjoy that. Just, it's in the description if you're interested.